Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast. We find successful people that are running successful businesses, and today is no different. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Me too, brother.
We have Detavio, who is the CEO of REVOLT, right? So are you CEO of, is it like REVOLT and REVOLT TV? Is it all one company?
All one company.
Okay.
All one company, yeah.
So the CEO, and all right, first question, as a CEO, does a CEO typically have ownership in the company, or
I think it often depends on where.
Bring it back a little closer.
Say it again.
Bring it back a little closer. Yeah, you're good. Yep.
I think it often depends on the life stage of the company and when you become a CEO.
Yeah.
And so I think early stage ventures, you're the ideator, the creator, or you come on in the first 5 years, maybe 10 years. Mm-hmm. It is very natural for a CEO to get equity in the company. And then as the thing gets, bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe not. But even if you think about like Bob Iger and Disney, like you're still going to get stock in some sort of equity return.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I guess introduce yourself, because I'm interested to know how you got the position. Like, how do you have a large company and you appoint someone to be over this large company, which you've got to be super qualified. So I'll let you introduce yourself, then we'll get into it.
Yeah, sure. Detavio Samuels. I am the CEO of REVOLT. I am first and foremost a man of God. I'm a man on a mission, a man with purpose, a man who very firmly believes in his assignment, and everything that I do, including being the CEO of REVOLT, falls and comes out of that.
Yeah. So what were you doing before you became the CEO?
Before I was here, I was working for Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins. Kathy Hughes, first black woman to IPO. She created Radio One, so I was at Urban One. There I was running their cross-platform sales business, their digital media company, which is called I1 Digital. And then we built a branded content agency and a branded content studio, One Solution and 1X. So I was running that for her. And prior to that, I was working for Don Coleman. Black man, used to be a football player. He built, it was basically the Boomerang for our generation, right? The #1 multicultural creative agency. So I've been working in black-owned businesses since.
I'm sorry, a Boomerang? I don't understand.
Boomerang, you remember the movie with Eddie Murphy?
Yes,
Boomerang? Yeah. That's what we were. Right? So,
the company. Okay, I got you.
We were that version of Boomerang, but we were doing it for Black, Latinx, and Asian.
Got it.
And so I've been working in Black-owned companies since 2007.
Got it. And when did you become CEO of REVOLT?
I came to REVOLT June of 2020 as the COO. The CEO went out on maternity leave 1 month later, July 1st, and never came back.
Really?
Basically, yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, took over the company, COO, running it from Zooms. Everybody, I think, is kind of like, why did they bring this guy here who has no TV background? I was coming from a digital media perspective.
Wow.
And then literally she hit the eject button. And so learning how to lead this company through COVID, through Zoom, all of that stuff. And then officially got the CEO title March of 2021.
Okay, so the height of COVID, the CEO leaves for maternity leave, and you're the COO. And I guess while she's on maternity leave, you're running the company anyway, right? Because you're next in charge.
Correct.
When did
July
you get
17th. She left July 1st. She was out July 17th.
She left July 1st and then made the announcement like, I'm not coming back.
On July 17th,
Why?
Exactly.
Is there a lot of pressure?
No. She had been looking to adopt a child. COVID hit, and I think she got that child. She had been on a waiting list for, let's call it a year or two. She got the child in March or April, and it just fundamentally shifted what she wanted to do with her life and her time and her energy.
Hold on. Maternity leave is when you have a baby, no?
It means you have it there, but there are a million ways to have a baby.
Okay, I'm learning. You learn something new every day. And when you got the new, were you just like next naturally in line, or are they saying be CEO for a minute until we find one?
No, I think it kind of always was, this is your seat to lose, right? So you sit in the seat, and if you got it, then by the end of the year, we'll anoint you and put you in position.
Okay. And I got to ask this question just about REVOLT itself, because I don't watch REVOLT. I don't watch TV. I don't even know. I'm not sure if we have cable. I'm going to be honest with you. How does it make money? Because it's still like a what, like a $40-80 million company or something like that?
Oh yeah, no, much larger than that.
Oh my bad. No disrespect. I was Googling. It said like 83 million or something like that. So that's wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely wrong. Definitely a 9-figure business. You know, I would say that we are, there are 4 big black-owned media companies. We're in that kind of like the biggest 4. And then
what are the 4? Just so
Byron Allen,
Yep.
1, Alfred Liggins and Kathy Hughes, 2,
Yep.
Revolt, 3, and then Rich Dennis's company, like Essence, etc. That's 4.
I got you.
All 9-figure plus companies, or 9-figure company, yeah.
So Revolt's a 9-figure company. Yeah. Okay, and you just have to explain to me, because I don't know. I don't watch. Y'all got cable?
The good news is you don't have to have cable to watch Revolt.
True, we watch on YouTube.
You can watch it on YouTube.
So that's a part of.
That's right. But the business model is pretty simple. So right now we have 2 core customer groups. One is what we call our affiliate partners. Those are the people who are the cable providers. Those are the people who give us access to distribute on cable. And so they pay us for subscribers and for subscriptions, right? So that's the Comcast, the Verizons, the Charters, et cetera. That's one big piece of the business. And before I came, it was always the largest piece of the business, right? Which is why Revolt was very much known as a linear cable channel.
Got it.
Since I got there, what we really focus is growing the second piece of the business, which is the advertising side of the business. And so that business has, since the end of 2020, that business has grown 6x. Really, really, really tremendous growth on that side. And so now we are firmly a business that is majority advertising driven, majority digital advertising driven. So a big transformation in the last couple of years.
Okay. So primarily cable station. Or
originally primarily
before you came. And did you already have the advertising side, or you built that out? They did,
but it was about less than half of the size of the cable side.
And when you say an advertising company, what's the operations or the functions of that?
Everything that you have to do to grab big money from the big companies, right? So you look at the Fortune 500, many of those are our core customers. And so the basis and our kind of cheat code is we built an internal agency. So we have a creative agency called 6 Zeros. And so brands will come and they'll give you a brief, a problem to solve. The agency will take that brief, come back to them with big ideas that all leverage the Revolt ecosystem to drive it around the company. And that's essentially how you make money. And then clients will pay you for media dollars for things like pre-roll advertising or banners that you'll see on the site. You'll get money for sponsorship, specific sponsorship of certain shows or our podcast network or something like that. And then the third one is branded content, so custom content, really tapping into the agency to say, not only do we want to use your media platform to tell our story, but we want you to create content for us, right? That is reflective of the culture, that can be accepted by the culture, but that has our message woven into it, right? So as an example, we're getting ready to launch, I think this week, season 2 of Receipts. Receipts is a show that is branded content for Walmart, right? It is tapping into the culture, our talent. It's a game show, but very much has Walmart's brand DNA woven all throughout it.
Hold on. So there's a show called Receipts. He says a game show.
It's a game
What is
show.
the nature of the show?
So essentially what they do is they identify super dope black people. They'll have 2, celeb talents who are then responsible for asking the person questions to try to identify what they do. And the core of the show is to kind of demonstrate to the world that black people are black and unlimited. There's no limits to what we can do. And so the person might be a scuba diver, which will catch you off guard, right? And so anyways, they're guessing all of they're continuing to guess or ask questions so that by the end they can guess and say what they think it is that the job that the person has. And they're guessing based on their receipts from Walmart. So it's kind of like,
that's hard.
If it's a scuba diver, like it'll say they got fins, they got goggles, they got, right? And so they're looking at the receipt, coming up with questions and trying to guess what it is that the person actually does.
Let me understand this. Walmart comes to Revolt to say, hey, we want to
tap into the culture.
You then put your brain on it and say, we're going to create this game show where all this stuff happens. Then you take it back to Walmart and say, this is the idea, this is how much it's going to cost, you pay us, we produce it.
Correct.
And that's hard.
And in general, that's how most of media works. So a large portion of media is the client will say, okay, we want to go after the black consumer. We're going to RFP 5 black companies. Again, RFP. We're going to solicit a response, a proposal. Yep. Here's our brief. We want to grow with black millennials, right? We want to drive awareness and consideration with them. They'll go out to 5 black companies, and oftentimes whoever has the best idea gets either the lion's share of the money or all of the money. So it's actually an ideas game that you have to play. If you're not playing the ideas game, you can very easily be stuck getting deals that are maybe a couple hundreds of thousands. But if you're playing the ideas game and can deliver big branded content opportunities like this, you can easily unlock, opportunities that are in the millions of dollars.
Bro, I'm thinking I come up with a good concept and then I try to find some companies to pay for it. But you're saying you find the companies that want something already, then craft it around that.
That's exactly right. And you could even take the idea that you have, you just have to be willing to, once I have engaged with this company, I wouldn't take them the idea first, right? I'd be asking them what their brief is. What problem are you trying to solve? What things are you trying to unlock, right? How do I help you win? Then I would go back and tinker with my idea so that it is presented in a way that makes the CMO of whatever that company is think that you're the best way for them to win. It's always problem solving, right? What is the brief? What is the problem to solve? And how do you position yourself as the best answer for that? Whether it's something you already have in the can or it's something that you create specifically for them. We have another show that's like a hit show for us, which is Bet on Black, which is like our Black Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. That one is all generated in terms of branded content with Target, right? So another big branded custom idea that looks and functions as normal content on Revolt, but is there because it was created in partnership with one of our brands.
I got the game twisted.
People are always trying to give people what they want, right? And that's never the right answer. The answer is, what do you want? What do you want to get accomplished? What is your North Star? When you go to your leader, when you go to the CEO, what do you want to put on that slide? What do you want to show that you've done? And then finding a way to present your assets in a way that says we are the best answer for you to be able to do that.
Yo, you know why this is so reassuring? Because we think that the people who make the money are the people that say, for instance, I have a show and I'm going to go get a deal. But you cannot have not one follower, but you're creative in a way where you can come up with an idea that serves a particular corporation and you can get a bag out of that, even if you're not the talent of it.
It's correct. The one nuance that I'll give and the advantage that you have from someone who is just coming up with an idea out of thin air is you have distribution. So you have both the ability to create the idea and then to distribute it to your audience, right? That's a game changer. I
see. All right, so before I get selfish, and I'll tell you the story about like Hot Seat, because I was having a conversation. I had an incredible conversation with them, but I think what is Pinky? Okay, because when I was seeing the thing, it said Revolt names Pinky Cole Hayes as first ever visionary in residence. I read it 7 times, and I don't know what that means. Okay, I was trying to decode it. Okay, is it first ever visionary? And then in residence, or is that a title? What is that? Explain it.
The title is actually Creative Visionary in Residence. So almost think of it as like a CCO in residence or a creative director in residence, right? And so Revolt is absolutely the home for creators who shape culture. And doing that, we're always thinking about different ways that we can tap into the brilliant creatives that exist in the Black space. Mm-hmm. And so this idea probably came up a year ago. Pinky actually was the first one to pitch me on it, which is also why it only made sense that she would be the first one.
She pitched you on the whole concept.
She actually did, which again,
I'm talking to Pinky, man. I love me some Pinky. Golly.
She's an incredible ideator, incredible thinker. And so when she came to me, she was like, yo, I got an idea for you. It just made so much sense. You just start to think about fashion houses we'll tap into, Pharrell, Virgin Abloh, like these different creators to get their spin, their point of view on their work for the next year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever that is. But media companies don't really do that, right? So often you just have the CCO at the top and the name is the name and that's it. And so imagining a world where we can tap into the brilliant minds that exist in the Black world for 6 months at a time, developing shows, experiences, products, whatever it is that kind of excites them. And then thinking about then how we then look at this entire slate of content and decide what you then want to put into the world made a ton of sense for us. And then I think for the creators, it just gives them the opportunity to just validate their genius in a space that they often don't get to play. Pinky actually has a media background, right? She was a producer, but again, you could think about lots of dope creators who don't have that production capability, who may have brilliant ideas, and you match their brilliant ideas with our storytelling and production machine, and out of there you get magic. So anyways, Pinky's the first one. I'm super excited to have her, and the reception and the response to the announcement has just been amazing.
So essentially, she has the free reign for, is it 6 months?
6 months.
So she has a free reign for 6 months to come up with concepts and start implementing ideas with the backing of Revolt. Like, let's say, for instance, she comes up with an amazing game show. Yeah. And I'm sure it's not just you go do it, but everybody's like, oh, Pinky, love that idea. Y'all will shoot it and make it happen using all the resources with the power to promote it and things of that nature.
Yeah, the only thing I'll spend on that is budgets are always a thing. So Pinky may come up with 10 ideas, and we may say, okay, let's go tackle this one first. Okay, next year, let's go tackkel this one. Right? But she's developing the slate that can give birth to the next hit shows, hit experiences, hit social interactions via Revolt, in partnership with Revolt.
Okay, I'm not talking about Pinky, I'm talking about myself right now, okay? Let's say, for instance, I was like, all right, well, in 6 months, I want to go up for the residents, because there's a lot of creators out here, right? Do the resident creator, do they get ownership in the IP? Is it a salary position? Do they get some sort of, because it's their brainchild? How does that work?
Yeah, so you should think of them as almost being, consultants or salaried employees for a time being. But then, the gift that we can give creators, again, is just validation in the space. And so much of that validation often comes from like an executive producer title, right? Like you get 3 things off with an executive producer title on a real established network, and it can shift how people think of your brand in the marketplace.
Wow,
right?
sign me up, bro. But here's what's crazy. Pinky is so dope. She's so dope. Y'all gotta renew that contract, I'm sure. Like, she's just so good, so smart. I just
saw the first list of ideas. Already there was like 7 immediately. And
she's incredible.
Yeah, she is just an ideator. And I believe that ideas move the world, ideas move business, ideas move culture. And so, yeah, she's a phenomenal ideator. Happy to have her within the family.
So there's space and real value in ideation.
Yeah, in my world, ideation is like the top of it all.
Really?
Right? Like there are lots of people who can come to you and say, I think you should be involved in tactical things, social, you should create a video. But like people who have real ideas, people who are saying, I looked at culture and here's an insight that is unique and fresh. And out of that, I'm going to birth an idea that the world has never seen before. Like, creativity, specifically for Black people, creativity is our superpower. Yeah. And so ideas unlock everything. You want a $10 million deal at the Fortune 100, it's going to take ideas. You want to build a $1 billion company, it's going to take ideas. Like, I think ideas are the things that move the world. And I think that as a Black people, we're blessed because we are, some of, if not the most creative people on the planet.
But also, I guess, coupled with that, you have to be able to carry it out, yes? I mean,
no, 100%.
With the engine behind it, of course, exactly. But you still got to put the pieces together to make it make sense.
Correct. Like, ideas without execution are zero, right? So but to your point about Revolt, anytime we're partnering with creators, like, again, that's the magic. You bring your creativity, you bring your genius, you bring your ideas. We already have the storytelling engine. We already have the production engine. We already have the experiential engine, right? So your map, we can easily help ensure that the execution is flawless.
I'm interested in the announcement that was made with Revolt giving ownership to the employees. I hear it, but I don't get it. I don't understand how a company would just say, all right, well, y'all get ownership. I'm sure it's more than that, right? So how did this work out? What's like the inner workings of that kind of structure?
Yeah, so the way that you should think about it is we retired all of the shares from our previous owner and redistributed new shares to our employees.
Just for nothing?
not for nothing, those people have been there putting in work, building this company over the last 10 years,
True.
Stood by us. We went through this crisis and didn't lose not one employee. They stood by the brand. They fought for the brand. They cared for the brand. So in my world, they absolutely earned it, right?
Yeah,
So,
I didn't mean for the employees for nothing, but I'm saying the original owner of those shares just relinquishes them? Or was it like, is there some, I was looking at some structures like something like that's a little deep, okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I was just trying to.
Yeah.
Understand.
And here's what I'll say. The magic in what exists and what happens is when you have an employee base that has skin in the game, you immediately can feel the difference.
Yeah.
When people shift from being renters to being owners, you immediately feel the difference. And so even conversations that may have to do with hard things like cost cutting, people I think approach it in such a fundamentally different way because they understand that if they create value for this business, it can create value for their families. And and that's the piece that I'm the most excited about. Like, I know that every time I put somebody in position to earn a six-figure salary, a Black person specifically, because so often we come from lack, that like you are shifting and changing the algorithm for a family forever. And so this one is like true wealth creation. If you can generate true wealth for 100+ people, 200 people, you can shift the algorithm for so many families and so many legacies. And so that's what this move was really about. And that's a piece that I'm super excited about.
That's strong.
Yeah.
That's strong.
It's like one at a time, right? Like one family at a time, but like you do it once and it's generations that get to reap the benefit.
Gotcha.
People talk about generational curses. There's also a thing such as generational blessings, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Revolt can be a blessing to the incredible employee base that we have.
Got it. Can I ask about like, I guess future, and we're looking at something like BET or, things are built to be sold, right? I know I built a media company. The objective is to sell it.
Yep.
I know, listen, that's the goal.
Exit.
Right, for sure. Are you at liberty to share the exit strategy of Revolt?
I think that'll be, over time, we will kind of figure out what the real opportunity was. I think this moment was about recapitalizing the company, giving us the opportunity to then try to drive to become a unicorn, that kind of $1 billion valuation. As we start marching towards that, I think the opportunities will come. But, the two that are going to be the most logical ones are some version of an IPO. I'm super excited about taking a Black-owned media company public. I'm excited about not just our employees, but Black culture having an opportunity to own a company that is creating content for them, by them, et cetera. So I think that's exciting. And then there's always the opportunity to sell, right? In your ideal world, you'd be selling to another Black-owned media company, but we know that we are often limited in scale and that might not be possible. Something like a BET becomes Black-owned. You now have a big behemoth that could kind of change that. And so one of the other things that I do is I sit on the board of Ben & Jerry's. And
really?
Yeah, I love sitting on the board of Ben & Jerry's for a million different reasons. But one of the reasons is when Ben & Jerry's sold the company to Unilever, they created a contract that basically appointed a separate board, the board that I sit on, that is responsible for protecting the soul of the brand. And so every day I get to see how this contract plays out in real life and get to think about, okay, if I ever had to sell Revolt, how do I make sure that I protect the soul, the work that we do for the culture, the work that we do for the community? How do I ensure that that thing sticks? And so because of that, I think there are multiple opportunities for us to exit in a way where we can still be true to the culture.
Which means if, let's say, a $1 billion company is sold, those employees are good.
They're gonna make some money. They're gonna make.
That's lit.
And they're the largest shareholder group, right? So if we sell for $1 billion, the biggest beneficiaries will be the employees of
That's
Revolt.
life-changing stuff.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the game that we're playing, right? That's the game that I'm playing. I say all the time, people think that Revolt is just a media company. We are actually an engine for transformative change in the Black community who just so happens to make media, right? Like Ryan Wilson said it to me at the gathering spot when we were sitting on the panel today. He was like, sometimes you got to tell the world that you have a horse, even though what you're really building is a zebra, right? So what you just tapped into is what I believe is the real core and purpose of Revolt. That's the zebra. 99% of people won't understand that, won't get that. So we talk about being a media company. But then you say like, well, why did you do this employee announcement? Because that's the job of the brand. That's what the company is really here to do. Create impact in our culture, shift the narrative for our people. What better way to shift the narrative than to build a bunch of Black millionaires? You know what I mean? Like,
here's what's cool about that thing. I think too, so it might be a PR play, right? But once we know that business is done that way, it kind of puts pressure on other businesses to operate that way.
Absolutely.
Like, yo, you got to give some sort of. The first person I ever heard talk about that was Pinky, actually. She did we were doing, I think our first interview where she said she structured Ghost Equity. I never heard of it before. But she was like, yo, as long as the employees work there, they have an equity ownership in the company, which I thought was really, really clever.
Yeah.
Really clever because it gives people a sense of ownership. And yo, this is my company too.
That's it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Bro.
Now the employees don't speak of themselves as employees. They speak of themselves as owners. You get a different energy when that happens.
I love that. Yeah. There's a lot of things you can do with $500. I mean, you can have a night out with your significant other. You could buy some really expensive shoes. Well, really nice shoes are about double $500. You could buy a course where you can learn something for $500. But I have something better for you to do with the $500. I want to meet with you every single morning for the rest of your life. Well, maybe not the rest of your life, but every morning, Monday through Friday, for the rest of the year. I have information and game that have allowed me to build a successful business, a successful community, and a successful life all the way around. But I want to share that with you. But the only way we can accomplish this is not me selling you a course, not me giving you a one-on-one consultation, because even with that, you'll get the information, but you'll need more. I want to meet with you every single morning. Now, would I meet with someone every morning for $500 for a year? And the answer is yes. Actually, we've been doing this thing since 2017. We have what's called the Morning Meetup. Every single month, we have a theme, whether it's social media, whether it's motivation, whether it's strategy, whatever it is, we have a theme for the month, and every morning in that month, we have a conversation around that topic. And I am giving a wealth of knowledge, not only myself, but a lot of friends, a lot of people that you see on this podcast. They join every single week. So you need a community of people that you can grow with, and you need a coach. I'm your coach. The Morning Meetup is your community. Go to themorningmeetup.com. It's $499, and I will meet you every single morning for an entire year. Give it a shot. Walk me through the podcast space, okay? Because that's my jam.
That's your baby. Yeah.
So what are you seeing in the podcast space? Obviously, there was kind of like COVID, everybody's inside. There's an explosion. Everybody tries it out. Now I think some of the dust is settling, and it's quality content that's got to be developed. So where are you seeing in the podcasting space from a Revolt perspective as well?
Yeah, look, I'm going to come high level and just say, because I see podcasts in the same way I see so many other different formats, which is media in general is just in a really difficult kind of chaotic moment. And if you like study the trades or reading what's like, nobody knows what to do. Everyone's trying to figure out what's next. Digital put a hurt on radio and print, right? Then you had COVID, put a hurt on theaters, right? Then you had streaming come and put a hurt on cable and digital, and streaming didn't even have to be profitable, which was the problem. And so they basically got to break the whole business without being profitable, which, you know, if you're not making money, you actually don't have a business.
Explain that. Explain that.
Yeah, like if all you're doing is creating a business that's hemorrhaging $100 million a year, there's no business. The job of a business is to make profit, to make money, right? And so the people with all the big checks, the people with all the cash got to throw billions of dollars at this problem or at this opportunity without having to be profitable. And so that's why you see people flood streaming during the COVID era, but it broke so much of the business, right? And so right now I would say everybody in media is kind of trying to find their way and trying to figure out what the future looks like. So that's one thing. When we talk about it at Revolt, we very much talk about what we think the wave of the future is about. We say we're pioneering the new era of entertainment. What is the new era of entertainment? For me, it's got three kind of key components to it. And let's just play this game and see if we can work it out. Okay. The old model was based on the media companies shoving content down people's throats when they want it. You will meet me here every Friday at 7:00 in order to get this thing, right? I will send you my magazine on whatever day I want of the month and you'll take it, right? The new era is all based on like people-centric. It's how people consume because so much of content is now on demand. So rule number 1 is discovery. How do you discover all of your content?
The feed or word of mouth.
So social, right? So if you're in the media business, podcast business, I don't care what business, and you're not trying to dominate in the social space, you're in trouble because that's the number one way that people are going to discover you and find you, right? And so that's a key piece of it. So you think about all these cable companies who are creating all of this content, but spending very little energy nurturing their social feed and their community and the discovery engine, like you're not gonna win. There's a lot of great content that will never get seen, right? So first you gotta be ready to like dominate the social media landscape. 2 is, okay, so once you discover something, you then, we live in this world where we all have kind of our personalized media experiences, right? So what are the 3 to 5 platforms that you consume the most of? Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, what is like cable?
Instagram, YouTube. I'm becoming a bigger fan of TikTok right now. Okay. And Netflix, I would say number 4.
Okay.
So YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, TikTok, and I really like Facebook. I'm not gonna lie to you. It'd be the most interesting stuff
in like 15 years.
Oh my gosh, Facebook is so lit. So those are my 5.
Okay, so if you take your 5, right, the story there is, if in order for David to find you, you have to reach him in one of those 2 social media platforms, and then the thing that he's looking for has to be distributed in one of those 3, right? And so that is a massive shift from you can only find this on cable. Yes. You can only get this in the magazine. And so a big piece of our secret sauce and what we've learned to do is essentially shoot once for multiple expressions, which is why sometimes it's hard for me to answer the question about podcasts, because I'm not just playing the podcast game, I'm playing I have to be everywhere my consumers want to consume my media game, right? And so if you take a look at our hit show from the past few years, Carisha Please, Carisha would launch. She would be top 10 trending in Twitter, dominating social media. She would be top 10 trending on YouTube, dominating video, and then she would be top 10 trending in Apple Podcasts, right? Dominating in podcasts, right? Is it a podcast? It's a talk show with multiple expressions. We then take her to Revolt World and she has the conversation live, right? And so the idea that you can shoot once and then enable the consumer to find you and wherever they want to find you, to me is a key piece of like what the new era of entertainment is, right? And then the third one, which I've been saying for now almost a decade, which is I just believe the future of media is creators and influencers. You can compare any TV network you want, Netflix, compare any of their social channels to Cardi B, to Carisha, like you name it. Those influencers, those creators have much larger followings that are more engaged, right? And again, that's what people are watching. You just said TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, right? And so the other piece to me is you have to be partnering with these creators because they actually, in the attention game, they have so many of the eyeballs, right? And so you can look at the entire Revolt strategy and it's kind of based on those 3 premises. We got to win at social. We're going to be everywhere our consumer needs to consume or wants to consume content on their own time. And we're going to partner with the dopest creators in the world to get it done.
Revolt own Breakfast Club?
We did not own the Breakfast Club, but we distributed it on cable for years.
Do y'all still have a partnership?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Okay. Well, I mean, I thought, you sure? Well, I'm asking you, are you sure? That's crazy. Because I thought like the microphones were like Revolt.
They were. That's exactly right. You're right.
But not right now.
Not right now. Today, if you go, they don't say Revolt.
Is there a reason?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where the partnership ran its course. That's the headline answer, right? Yeah. We had them for linear, where we've been super focused on growing as digital, and they already have a very solid digital business without Revolt, right? So the partnership ran its course.
Got it. So they essentially use you to build out their whole infrastructure and stuff. Not in a negative way, but eventually you outgrow and say, well, I don't necessarily need this partner.
The way I'll say it differently is the way that partnership worked was based on linear cable TV only. And when we started to focus on digital only and we couldn't get access to the digital assets, then you start to rethink, okay, is this the right partnership for the strategy that we have today? Still, phenomenal fans, still love their work, still think they're doing great work, but for our business model and where we were going, I think the partnership had run its course. Still got a great relationship with them.
Good. So our first conversation, we had one conversation, but then it kind of led to this hot seat. So I have the hot seat show.
I watch it, yeah. I see you on social.
Thank you, man. So we had the conversation, and I was like, yo, I think this would be a good partnership because I've always built everything that I built just off the muscle. You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't been any partnerships or anything like that. So we had that conversation, and you put me in touch with two people on your team, and they said, we want to see Hot Seat as a show with a more segmented format. So that's when we actually designed a different type of set, and we're like kind of giving it a different look, and we're interjecting more stuff into it, right? And I thought that was a very interesting conversation. Do you remember what they said? Did y'all have a conversation after that, after we talked?
I'm sure we did, but my memory doesn't work super great like that, so let's just say we did.
Okay, all right, cool. No, but I wanted to know. They was like, well, we'll take it on as a podcast, but we'd prefer it to be a show. So we've been trying to structure the show, and they gave me some things to think through.
Yeah.
But I probably need the production value of Revolt.
Yep.
So let's say, for instance, somebody in my situation where I have a show, people really enjoy it, they're loving it, we got clips that go viral, and people remix our stuff a lot. How would I continue to build a relationship with Revolt as a creator?
Yeah.
Because you're always looking for content, right?
100%. And everything you just said is basically like the perfect match for us, right? A dope creator.
Sign me, bro. Yeah. Yo, let's get the contract going. You draw up the contract. Let's do it before we leave here.
A dope creator with a real audience, right? Hopefully fandom, but real audience, who already has a working concept. And again, what Revolt brings to the table is our storytelling capability and our production capability, right? And so it would make sense for you to partner with us because we can level the show up in those ways and give you access to different audience, and it makes sense for us to partner with someone like you. So the question in terms of how do you stay in touch, I think one, you have a direct line to me, but then two, I think after you've kind of like taken the notes from the team, I would think about how I come back to them and showcase one, that you took the notes and you moved on it. Two, to prove out that this thing has real audience, real engagement, real fandom, and like, let's ignite another conversation.
Got it. Here's my not a challenge, but I took it from my main platform, and I'm building out a brand new YouTube channel, which is getting more views than subscribers that I have, which is a good thing, right? Because people are liking it. But for somebody that is a creator, how would you advise? How do you all structure your deals? So I come and say, all right, I got this show. I don't know what to ask you for. Will your team already provide, okay, this is the proposal?
Yeah, we have two ways we work with creators in that sense. One is like a co-production deal, right? So we take a look at the production budget and we say, okay, you're going to do what you do, and we're going to give you X amount of money so that we can up-level it and do something different. That's one way. The other way is a rev share perspective. And all of our creator deals that are based on a rev share, the creator gets the majority of the dollars, because we're very big on not doing what the world has done to black people since the beginning of time. You pick this cotton, build this tobacco industry, and you get zero. You build hip hop, which is making billions of dollars and is the music that the entire globe listens to, but you don't own your masters, right? So we're very big on making sure that creators get the benefit from the economics of their genius. And so those are kind of the two key ways: a rev share where you would get the majority of it, or a co-pro deal. But if we do co-pro, then the split's a little bit different, because now we're actually investing in the content.
Got it. Okay, so you either take it as it is and I get the majority, but does both ways you put your engine behind it?
Correct.
In terms of exposure is the same.
Correct.
But if you have to produce and get your team to shoot and all that kind of stuff, then obviously splits are a little different.
Correct.
I want to say this was maybe 2 years ago. I don't know if it was Revolt or iHeart. We'll just say it was iHeart, I want to say. I had a conversation, and they were saying, well, you already have something successful going. Yep. You could bring it over here, but we would own the IP. Mm-hmm. how Revolt operates?
No, so that's what I'm saying. That is what we are purposefully not doing.
Got it. Was it ever like that? Because I thought it was
definitely not since my time.
Okay.
Definitely not since 2020. We've never structured a deal like that.
Love it.
Yeah. Like if we're going to own the IP, we would be creating a new show or a new format or something like that. But even in us owning it, you would still have some sort of profit participation or something that allows you to benefit from the upside. We want you to have skin in the game. And if this thing works and we win, we want to make sure you win as well. Right. So in all instances, creators have upside participation in what we create together.
What about this? And hopefully these questions are helping, because we don't know. We're creative people. We don't know how to structure a deal. And I know everything in business is negotiable, right? So do these deals typically work like it lasts for a little while, like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 5 years, and then if it doesn't work, does it revert back to the creator? Which I don't think is all the way fair for the company, especially if the company's helped building it and you kind of leave the company high and dry.
Yeah, so let me just take the example of Hot Seat. If that's your IP, if we were just partnering together on that IP, exactly what you said, it might be a year deal with some options or something like that. And then if that deal breaks for whatever reason, you've outgrown us or whatever that is, then that IP would revert back to you. It only changes when we're the ones creating the IP or building the IP, right? And in that one, we have to hold on to ownership because we're the ones who are best positioned to exploit the asset, right? We're the ones that have licensing conversations. We're the ones that are having syndication conversations, right? So if it's a big investment and we are owning the IP, you still get upside participation, but it's important for us to own it because we're the ones who know how to exploit it. It's just based on the capability.
I like that you operate that way, but I'll even take the other side. Even from a corporation standpoint, it's almost not even fair to the corporation. For me to come, I got a little following. Now, I'm not lobbying for this to happen, but okay, I got a little following. I come to Revolt. We have the partnership. Revolt puts their sauce behind it. It grows, explodes. And then a year later, I'm like, yo, all right, Revolt, appreciate you. I'm about to go over to iHeart or wherever else. I don't think that's fair for the company's standpoint.
Me neither, but it happens to us all the time. Like there are literally companies, every year I've been in this game, there are companies who watch our playbook, watch our shows that pop, and then try to take our biggest shows from us every single time, right?
That's the thing,
and because
though.
we're black owned, which means we typically are smaller, and they're gonna have much bigger budgets. Like we always end up in this thing where someone can come steal our talent away, which is why we're always in the game of this, like who's next, who's new, who's dope, who's fresh.
But it doesn't make you think to yourself, I need to stop this from happening somehow. I'm telling you, if I ever become like CEO or COO, I work beside you, you want to pass the torch, I'm telling you, we're going to put something in place where we own this joint if we grow it.
It depends on how much we are investing in it to grow it, right?
Gotcha.
So again, like it's the size of the investment. But if our investment in this thing is not massive, it goes back to the fact that I believe that Revolt is a zebra, not a horse. If you're in the media game, then you're absolutely doing that. You're absolutely trying to clamp down on the IP and limit what creators can make. Like that's the game in the business. If you're actually in the business of trying to create wealth and opportunity for black creators, then you just choose to play the game a little bit differently.
I got you.
And then you have to have confidence that the way you play the game, you can still win. And then where you get your joy, your pleasure, your happiness is watching that creator who started with a $0 budget, went to a $25,000 budget, and now has a multi-million-dollar budget on a big network. Like we're proud of that. Like we get our pride in seeing our people win in that way, right? Because we're not a media company, we're an engine for transformative change.
I like that, man. Golly. This is, you really have to have a long game mindset to even think like that.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I guess I got a limited mindset. I'm like, bruh, if I take your little idea, that's why even in the 90s, when they had these deals where they're saying that the executive puts them in a 360 deal. Mm-hmm. Bruh, you was singing in the hood on a basketball court and somebody found you and we gave you a bunch of money and it worked for you, but you don't see the other 10 people that we invested in that we got none of our money back. 100%. So when I'm responsible for that, what is it, like 300, what's it, like 30 years or something like that? Then the masters go back or something like that in music. I feel that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Even just the word masters bothers me. It's literally slave language, right? It's literally like we own you, right? And so again, that's the way that Revolt is going to look at the game, and we're going to try to find a way to play the game very differently. We are not your master. We don't own your masters. Again, if it's original Revolt IP with all of our investment and all of our muscle behind it, it's a different game. We own the IP, but again, the creator's still going to have upside participation.
Bro, this has made me like Revolt. Okay. Even more, bro. I'm not gonna, like, for real, because y'all are for the people. You continue to show it even through like the adversity, but it's like I'm seeing that you are plowing through, and like even the announcement of Pinky, it's like, yo, we're taking one of our own and putting them in position. And I know she's gonna put other people in position.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if I got a call. Yeah. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised.
And I'll say to that, like, I thank you for seeing us, right? Like when you play the game the way that we play the game, so many people only see the superficial kind of version of it. And it's not often that people can see or hear your heart. Yeah. And so I appreciate you for, just being able to see and hear who we are and what we're trying to get accomplished. We're definitely in it for the long game, and we're in it for our people, our culture, and like maximum impact.
Yeah, and this is a really good conversation, because I saw Revolt from afar, and it's not I don't know what happens. I just see the brand and obviously the old owner and all that kind of stuff. But now to hear the inner workings of how a company's built, I really have a different level of respect for how you guys are operating.
I appreciate that.
Who are you looking for in terms of like a creator, somebody that's watching this? Because there's a lot of creative people that are watching right now. Yeah. What are you looking for?
All of it. So that is Revolt is aspiring to build, and we already are, but we want to make it bigger, to build the best playground for Black creators, right? And so if you got shows you want to license to us, we're up for it. We've got a publishing network for people who are in the publishing game. We've got a podcast network for people who are doing podcasts. We've got a YouTube network for people who are, in the YouTube game. Creators who want to be producers, creators who are dope visionary. Like there's a spot for Pinky. Like there's a studio here that we're trying to figure out how to, and I want to do something in partnership with you. I know we talked about that before, but like we're also looking at how do we take our Atlanta studio and flip it into something that allows creators in Atlanta to have the space to build and do work in ways that they haven't had space to do it before. And so just our whole mentality is about like, we're going to build the best playground for Black creatives to be seen, to be amplified, to monetize their genius. Like that's what we're doing. And so I would say we're very open, it's very broad in terms of what we're looking for.
You're saying you already have the studio. Is it operating right now?
Yep, the studio's been built. Ben here has been operating since 2021. We were shooting a lot of our shows for the linear portion of the business out of it.
And when you say linear, what do you mean?
Cable TV.
Yep, got it.
And right now it's just going through transition as we're trying to figure out what shows we're going to anchor and headquarter in Atlanta. But I believe that there will be excess space or capacity, and I want to figure out how to give that capacity to Black creators.
Got it. Okay. I got some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to talk to them.
Yeah. Put me over it. Yeah. First off, I can handle that. Okay. So how does someone what do people need to be prepared with to even approach you to get you interested? Is it one, the concept, or is it two, the following that it's amassed already? What are you looking at?
Yeah. So I'll try to see if I can chunk this. If you are a creator who is a publisher, podcast, YouTube, like you've already got your thing, then what we're looking for, the opportunity that we bring is higher CPMs because we have direct relationships with brands.
Explain CPM.
CPMs is the cost per 1,000 views, higher prices for your work, right? So as an example, as a creator doing work on YouTube, you might be used to getting $6 CPMs, right? $6 for every 1,000 people who watch your shows. We might be able to get you to $12, $13, right? And so if you are a creator with a solid following, that's what you would need to bring to us. We have this audience, this size, X, Y, and Z. If we see a monetary opportunity, let's ink that deal. And that's what that is. If you are a creator who has show ideas or show concepts, we have a pitch portal. You can submit it. I can give you the link when I leave so that you can put it kind of in when you post a YouTube video, but you go to the pitch portal. We have a team that's reviewing it like every other week to look and find the dopest ideas.
Oh, wow.
And so that would be another way that you can get access. Building relationships with the team in the studio would be maybe the third one. And then the last one for me is, again, we're just trying to bet on dope creators with real fans. And if you don't have a show concept, if you don't have an idea, but you're a dope creator with a real fan base, I think even those types of things you can submit to the Revolt portal, because so much of what we do starts with the creator. Right, Carisha started with Carisha. Assets over liabilities with Earn Your Leisure started with Earn Your Leisure, right? So even just showcasing the size of your audience, the engagement, the fandom can be a great starting point for us as a network.
Yeah, one thing you said in the portal, that doesn't scare you a little bit? Because let's say, for instance, I submit my idea, but that's something you're working on already. I feel away.
Yeah.
Because, now Revolt stole my idea. That doesn't scare you a little bit?
It does. That's why we say go through the portal, because the portal makes sure that all the little legal boxes are checked.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? If you just hand me something on paper, there's no documentation, there's no, right? The portal allows us to be protected and safe, which is why even if I was going to say send me the deck, I'd say submit it to the portal first, just because you're right. There are no new ideas. So many of these ideas are probably ideas we've thought of 100 times. So anyways, the portal is what makes sure that we're protected and eliminates risk.
Right. I mean, but it's still, legally it may eliminate you from risk, but my feeling of I submitted something and it's really close to what Pinky gave you on that paper of the list, right? And then we start moving forward with what you saw from Pinky, but I'm like, hold on, no. I submitted this last month. You guys stole my idea.
Yeah. I think that's just the same way that I think people would attack like entrepreneurship. A lot of people will ask you to sign NDAs before they want to show you their business plan and whatnot. And like for me, it always, again, there just are no new ideas. Where people are differentiated is, yes, the genius of the idea, but you nailed it earlier, like how you bring that idea to fruition and execution. There's 100 people with your same business idea right now. One of them is going to take that thing to the moon and you're still talking about it, your idea on paper.
That's a fact.
Right? I mean, like, so you don't get credit for that, right? So I apply similar logic and thinking to content IP. Got
it. And I saw you do you like push yourself as a brand or creator? Because you had your own show.
I do have my own show. It's always a tricky subject because I never wanted my own show, never my dream to be like on-air talent or like in front of the camera. My dream always was to be, I always say people like I want to be the mob boss. You come to the Italian restaurant, the mob boss isn't sitting in the front with everybody. They're sitting in the back with the people who are, making pizza and pasta and calling the shots. People of power, people of influence, but not there for everyone to see. In fact, like the analog that I was kind of chasing from a career standpoint was Steve Pamone. Do you know who he is? He's the guy behind Beyonce's like Ivy Park deal with Adidas. What's the Run This tour? What was it called? The On the Run tour. Is that what it's called? On the Run tour. So much of like what she did over the course of, let's say, 5 to 10 years was Steve. Nobody knows Steve in the world, but if you know, right? That's who I wanted to be. And so
why'd you create the show?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Is that just your creative mind being creative? Like, I'm going to go do something.
No, like I am a servant to my mission. I'm a servant to my assignment. And through different data points, it felt clear to me that this was just a natural evolution and a part of my assignment. And it doesn't matter if I don't want it. It doesn't matter if it's not what I dreamt of. These are the doors that God is opening, and it's my job to run through. One of the most meaningful conversations I had was with Munson Steve, who runs Rolling Out. And he was, I've probably been at Revolt for a year. And he was like, brother, why don't you have your own show on the network yet? You freaking run. I'm like, yo, man, that's not me. I also don't want to be the person like green lighting my own show. Sounds weird, right? And then he just, checked me like, you actually don't get to make that decision. There are a lot of young Black people who need to know that you exist. There are a lot of young black people who can use the wisdom, the gems, the experiences that you've had, and need that to kind of plot their career and where they're going for. So like, you don't get to make the decision that you get to sit behind a closed door and be hidden to the world. The world needs to see and know who you are. And so it was conversations like that over time started wrestling in my spirit. And it was like, whether I want to do this thing or not, my flesh doesn't matter. Like, I have to show up for the assignment. So I have this show. I'll have the show until spirit says different, but it's definitely not something that it was like, let me go jump into this. Like, this is what I want to do.
Are you still, like, when you add someone, do they go on your Revolt YouTube channel, or do you build a new one, or what? How does that work?
When I add a podcast, or when I bring someone on my show.
When you add a podcast, you bring someone on the network.
So if you are part of the podcast network, we distribute it all for them, right? We do distribution. If you're part of the YouTube network, you sit on your YouTube platform. There's almost no different than you. Just the checks get bigger every time Revolt sells some of the inventory instead of you, right? When we're creating IP together, when we're creating content together, that stuff will run on Revolt. So that's a little bit of a different model. And for the most part, we program in different buckets. So I have some content that is linear exclusive. In order to keep the machine on the cable side of the business propped up, you have to give them exclusive content that you can't find on YouTube, that you can't find on social, right? So there's some content that just lives there. As an example, we have like Big Facts is the linear exclusive right now. Baller Alert is a linear exclusive right now. Those are things that you only will see on Revolt linear. And then we also, program in the biggest way for us, which is multiple expressions, right? And so those are things like, Carisha's show when it was popping on Revolt was
Is she still doing it? Because she only did a few episodes, not a few, but it wasn't a whole lot. But like when she drops, it's an explosion. For sure.
And that's the magic of Carisha.
Yeah.
Like Carisha, we never believed in appointment viewing. The appointment viewing?
Yeah,
again, like you got to show up at 7
yeah.
o'clock, right? So many in the cable business are still like slaves to that model. They're also slaves to a model where they feel like they have to market to you for like 3 months prior to a thing. And our position was always kind of like, we live in this fast food generation, microwave generation, where it needs to be instant gratification. And so unless you have a massive franchise, Grand Theft Auto, Star Wars, Black Panther, like those things people want a year's notice, 6 months notice, right? Everything else, like, no. Tell me the thing is ready when I can literally say, oh, I saw this thing on social, let me go watch it now,
Got it.
The other thing, that Carisha has helped us kind of break this notion that we always wanted to say, which is there's no such thing as appointment viewing anymore. And so what she does is no one knows when there's another episode of Carisha coming. I've never known.
She probably doesn't even know.
Yeah, because again, we weren't shooting on a schedule like everybody else was. And so we would shoot something, have something in the can, give that puppy 48 hours notice, and boom, again, like magic.
Wow.
Top 10 trending on Twitter, top 10 trending on YouTube, top 10 trending on Apple Music, right? So she was great in helping us prove out our belief that appointment viewing has kind of disappeared.
Got it. I mean, but you still do have some appointment viewing, right? Well, I don't know. Is Drink Champs?
Yep. So they'll still air on Drink Champs. 100% airs consistently Thursdays, at 9 on linear, and Saturdays on YouTube. Right. So it's still there. But again, people's consumption of it is really typically in the first 2 weeks of the show airing. Right. Because we're just in an era where people consume when they want to.
Got it. Okay.
On demand.
Good. Man, this was a very helpful conversation.
I wanted to give
clarity.
Can I give you one more thing?
Yeah.
Because you had asked me like about podcasts, and I don't think I got to this point that I just think is important for creators to be thinking through, which is like, first of all of us are in the attention game, right? Trying to see how long you can grab and hold attention. That's point one. Where was I going with this? Point two is it is just so hard to get attention in this moment in time. And so I always go back to like, let's just think about the evolution of content, right? So 30 years ago, radio, print, cable TV, right? Cable TV gave us hundreds of channels. How many channels did you ever watch? And when you had cable, did you ever watch more than 10
3.
channels? Right. So we were given hundreds of channels we didn't want, and we only watched 3. So we were already in an era of too much content, right? Then you throw social media on top of that, it's bananas, right? Then you throw streaming on top of that, it's bananas, right? And so again, whether you're doing the podcast space or the video space or whatever, like the idea is you're in the attention economy. There's already an overabundance of content. And so whatever we're doing, we got to be trying to make hits. We got to be trying to come up with fresh ideas that the world hasn't seen. These ideas have to have a way and a mechanism to break through the clutter. There's a lot of dope content that's just dying on the vine because nobody's ever seen and discovered it. And then it also, like in the world of social, has to have stopping power, right? If I can't get you to stop in 3 seconds, right, as you're scrolling, right, this is how you get discovered. Right? For sure. And so if you can't get me to stop in that moment, then no matter how beautiful or amazing your content is, it will die on the vine, right? And so that's one of the biggest things. I just don't think there's enough people. There are a lot of great ideas and genuine ideas and cool ideas, but they're not breakthrough. They don't have stopping power, and so they will die. And so if you're gonna come present something to Revolt, I'm gonna ask you to show up with like, what makes us feel like this thing's gonna break through the clutter? What makes us feel like this thing's gonna have stopping power? What makes us feel like this is something that the world will share, right? And I always say the world shares based on kind of 2 key things: something you love or something you hate. You got a Detroit Lions hat on. They come out with the new quarterback for the Detroit Lions. You're going to have a bunch of people that are like, yeah, I love it, da-da-da-da-da. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of people who hate it. Yeah. Both of them will share, right? So it's all good. Sure. But it's got to create that kind of emotional reaction, right? And so just not creating content for content's sake, but trying to create content for the world that we're in and the context that we're in. And that context is just like we're overloaded with content.
Wow. Got it. And how many shows do you have on the network now?
I don't even know. Like the podcast network alone is 60, right?
Really?
Yeah.
And how do you support 60 creators?
So again, it's rev share, right? So what we have and where our magic is we have the relationships direct to clients, direct to advertisers. And so we go unlock as much money as we can and then share it with everybody in the ecosystem.
But I mean, is that beneficial though? Because if you got out of 60 shows, let's say you have 10 that are actually doing something. I mean, you still want to put your marketing behind all of these creators, right? Is that one of the promises that you're saying? Is when you come onto this network, you get our engine, we'll get you on these different platforms, PR, stuff like that?
Yes, and you will make more money.
Got it.
Yeah.
And most people care about the money.
And lots of people care about the money.
Got it. In what scenario do you say, okay, we're going to put some energy behind making this show or this person a star because they have something special?
Yeah, so the beauty of all of this is that we have access to the numbers, right? And so a big piece of what we've been trying to, like the big piece of the dream is, again, building this like the best creator playground for Black creatives. We want to be able to nurture Black creators through every stage of their life cycle. The example is like Issa Rae. Issa Rae started on her own on YouTube. Then she went to HBO. Then HBO, she left HBO and now she's frustrated, right? Like we want to create that space where a Black creator can just like live with you through the entire piece. So you watch podcasts that are popping and you go, okay, let's take this podcast and a video podcast. You watch that thing pop and you go, okay, let's create an original series with this creator, right? Like that is the mechanism that we're trying to build, or that is the dream that we're trying to build into. And when you have these people sitting on your platforms, you have access to see who's popping, when they're popping, etc.
Dang, this is good. You look like you're having a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, this is fun. I live life just kind of based on like, you know, my key to success in life is about alignment in 3 areas. One, I always need to be aligned to the gifts and the talents and the things that God gave me, right? Those pieces that are a unique part of my design. 2, I only want to solve the puzzles that are my puzzles to solve. I can look at something and go, that's not my puzzle, right? Why I'm at Revolt? Because I'm like, this thing feels like my puzzle. You know what I mean? And then the third one is always God alignment, right? And when those 3 things are in alignment, then I feel like you can't lose. And being at Revolt, all 3 are in alignment. So I'm having a lot of fun. I feel like we can't lose. The team is doing a lot of great work for the culture and the community in ways that people don't know or understand, but they don't need to know now, right? We're writing our story, and our story will be written by all of the creators 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that are talking about how Revolt provided a platform for them to become who they were supposed to become.
Got it. What's your sauce? What makes you special? I got a couple gifts, only 2 or 3 things I'm really good at. Everything else I'm terrible. But what makes you special? What makes you the right person to be the CEO of Revolt, and obviously turning it around the way you turn things around? This is incredible.
Thank you, brother.
What would you say your sauce is?
Yeah. A couple of my secret sauces are leadership. I think that I have been blessed with an incredible ability to lead. And when you are a real leader, you can move between categories, industries, et cetera, right? So I started out in Johnson & Johnson doing global marketing on the medical device side, then went to the creative agency side, having known nothing about running a creative business. Then I went to the media side, knowing nothing about running media, and that was digital media, right? And then I came to TV, knowing nothing about TV, right? And so the leadership capability, which at its core to me, like anybody can lead. Leadership is about followership. And if you can build followership, you can lead. So anyways, I think that's absolutely one of the gifts that God has blessed me with. I think there's also like this notion of like strategy, like this idea of being able to peek into the world and see the future and build into that future is another gift that I have. And so
being able to see where the ball is going.
Exactly. And said differently, definitely see where the ball is going. But one of my favorite strategic questions to ask I got from Jeff Bezos, and he was like, everybody wants to skate to where the puck is going, but like that thing can move, that thing can change. You don't know if it's going to be here in 5 or 10 years. The better way to build strategy is to look and say what's never going to change. People are always going to want lower prices. Cool, I can build a business based on that, right? For me, what's never going to change, creators being the future of media, creators having platforms that get bigger and bigger, and they garner more of the attention economy. They garner more of the CPG economy, because now we're buying Kim Kardashian Skims, her lipstick. Like that thing isn't changing, right? So I can build a business based on that. So yeah, strategy and kind of future, seeing into the future. One other one that I'll give you is like optimism. Like I am incredibly optimistic, and in a lot of ways that can probably annoy people, but it means that I am built for turnarounds, crises, difficult situations, because I'm always looking at the glass half full. I'm always believing that there is no loss, no tragedy, that like we can find our way forward. And I think that's a superpower that I have as well.
Study leadership, or is it just you're studying what you do?
Yeah, both. Definitely have always been a natural leader since I was a kid, but I would say in my 20s, I probably invested a lot of energy in reading books, trying to study under great people, whether it was through school or mentorship or those types of things. But my 20s were very dedicated to how can I become the best leader. I went to Stanford School of Business at 22 years old. Average age when you go to business school is probably like 25, 26. And so like my classmates are like geniuses who come from Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, quants, like just ridiculously crazy when it comes to numbers. And that first semester at most business schools back then was usually anchored in finance. So it's like you're taking statistics and operations and finance. And if you didn't come from that world, like you feel like you're at the bottom of the pile. I performed well, but it was still like such a lift for me. Like when I looked at it compared to my classmates and my peers. And so then I just said, well, if this is what business is, then I got to find a way to play the game in a way that I can win. Right? And what I can do is lead people, right? Yeah. And so I think I just started putting a lot of energy into figuring out how I just think I said this on Neo's podcast too. Like I wake up every day just trying to figure out how to optimize the machine that God gave me, right? How do I maximize this thing? And so once I uncover that like my superpower is leadership, the world will always pay you when you are best in the world at your craft. right? So like, let me go chase this thing because I will always be able to get a paycheck for being an incredible leader. I just think that's like the key to like one of the keys to life, right? So yeah, I've been chasing that down since my 20s. Long way of saying.
Nah, that's good.
Since my 20s.
I'll be honest, she had just quit her job and now she works here and I underpay her. Like extremely. No, really, I take advantage of her. Really, it's really bad. But only because she was working at a gym making $10 an hour, and I was like, "Well, just come
were
over
you
here."
in the hot seat?
Yeah,
I saw you.
I was like, "Look, I'll pay you 10. No problem."
I saw you.
So, as let's say a young creator, I have an electric energy. I can create content. I'm not afraid of doing the work. Where can I find my place in the world? Because it's a little bit challenging. I think it's more challenging now growing a following on, let's say, Instagram or something like that than it was because there's so much noise and there's so many people joining every single day. If you were Abian, where do you start to get into this media space and really make a splash?
Yeah.
What would you start at?
Off the top, two places I always go to. One is, what is the cultural context? Like, what's happening in the world around you? And so some of those things are when I start talking to, one of my other superpowers is like simplification, right? I can look at 1 billion data points and come back with like, oh, this is the thing, right? Yeah. So, some of that context is we're in the attention economy. The market is oversaturated. You've got to find a way to stand out and be different, right? Then I'm looking at myself saying, who did God make me be? What are my superpowers? What are the things that I can do best in the world? The world doesn't hire for disqualifications. They hire for qualifications. The world doesn't. So many people spend all of their time focused on their weaknesses. Nobody ever asks you that the resume is not a showcase of your weaknesses. It's a showcase of the things that you have mastery of, right? And so just leaning into this fact that like we are all an N of one. We are all uniquely designed. And what is it that I have that can create something breakthrough special in this marketplace that is oversaturated? From a tactical standpoint, I do think that there are still ways that you can build audience fast, like TikTok. I run into these kids like on TikTok and they all have millions of followers.
Right,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean? Like TikTok is doing an incredible job of just allowing people to build massive audiences. And so just thinking through those things, right? What is going on in the world? If you have a passion for Black culture, what is the context? What does the culture need? What's missing out of this market that you are uniquely designed, capable, and able to execute on and bring to market? I think so much of my process starts understanding the external, but loaded by what's on the inside. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way that you get to the magic. So many people chase money. It's not money. Money goes away. It's how do you become best at the craft? How do you become best in the world at something? That's what people will always, always pay you for. We pay Issa Rae because she's freaking great at doing what she does. We pay Kenya Barris because he's great at doing what can you be great at, right? That's where I would start.
Okay, give me an example of like, I would do this. She's a host and her thing is she wants to go to Revolt World and run so she did it for Podcast Summit where the people that aren't there still get to relive. They get to live what's happening in real time. So she's going up to people, creating the conversation around what's going on. So you give them an insight, and it kind of makes you want to get in your car, hop on a plane, and say, "I need to be there." Right? So she wants to jump into that world. Okay. If you were her, where would you start?
Two things I would immediately go to is there's 1 billion people out there doing like recap videos. What is special about your recap video? What's your name again? Abiana. Like, what is Abiana's sauce on a recap video that the world has never seen before? Like, it's got to show your unique point of view, your unique lens, your unique frame of the world. Like, don't just make me a recap video that tells a story in the way that everybody else would. Tell me the story in a way that tells me who you are, that tells me when I hire you, when I partner with you, this is the lens that I'm buying. Like I always say at Revolt, one of the key insights when I came was we had a lens and we were using it to create cable TV content, right? But we have a Black culture lens. Advertisers want that lens. Other people want that lens, right? So what is your lens? Because then you find the people who want that view or that framework, that point of view, and you partner with them. The other piece that I wanted to say was, finding a way to get views on it, right? Because I want to partner with creatives who are putting things out in the world that aren't just getting 10 views, right? So again, for us, so much of the cheat code is the talent, right? Who is the talent that you're interviewing? Who are the people that you're putting in it? How do you get them to share the video from the festival or from the conference, so that thing also does numbers, right? So my two pieces are, what is your unique lens, and how can I see that in the content that you make? And how can you ensure that this thing breaks through the clutter and gets real views and real eyeballs in a way that most stuff just typically doesn't?
There we have it. You got the game? Okay.
Did this one have your lens on it? Did it have your framework? Did it have your lens? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Now I think what are you, 23? She's 23 years old.
Yeah. Good for you.
What I did.
You never go wrong betting on yourself.
Never go wrong betting on yourself.
You only go wrong trying to be somebody else. You never go wrong betting
That's
on yourself.
That's a fact. Detavio, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I enjoyed this conversation. I got a lot to talk to you about.
Yeah, we do.
You know, like when the cameras go on. Because we got a lot to talk about. Yes. So we'll make something happen, man. Thank you so much for joining.
Brother. I appreciate
this
you.
Is we need these types of conversations, like the inner workings of a business and how I could find my place there, right? So you just changed my mindset on a whole bunch of things. So leave us with a word of wisdom, and man, how they can connect with you.
Word of wisdom. What word of wisdom do I want to leave people with? Right now, one of the quotes that's been like circulating in my mind, it's a Greek poet. I can't think of his name right now, but the quote is, "They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds." And I share that with my people, Black people in particular, because we live in a world that for centuries has tried to bury us. They tried to put us under their foot and stump us into the ground. And what I want my people to know, and what I want my people to remember, is we are the most resilient. We are the most creative. They wouldn't be trying to stump you into the ground if they didn't see and acknowledge your power. And so now is the time for us to start turning those seeds into fruit, like bearing fruit, trees that are growing. No longer can we let them kind of keep their feet on our necks. It's time for these seeds to sprout. So that's my message, at least in this moment, for this community and this culture that I love dearly.
Yeah, you don't have to answer this question.
Okay.
But we are in a political race right now. And, I remember when Sean used to really put on for Obama, right? And I think that's some of the things that turned the tide of getting us to vote, right? And there was a direction that we wanted. Yeah. We all rallied behind, saying we need to vote here. Do you, as a company, is there a belief that you have that we need to get our people to vote in a certain direction? And I feel so strongly, I'm willing to push that narrative.
Yeah. The answer is no. And the reason is because as a brand, we have always stood on one key tenet as a brand, which is we trust Black people to be smart enough to make their own decisions. So often the world is giving Black people information with a specific agenda behind it, or is curated to tell a very specific narrative. And where we have prided ourselves over the last 4 years is giving Black people both sides of the story at the same time and empowering them to make their own decisions. Yeah. And so the work that we're doing, where we covered the Trump-Biden debate. We did a live audience show, live studio show just recently at RNC, right? And then in between, and when Trump spoke, in between the breaks at the beginning, at the end, you have Tez, who's our chief political correspondent, interviewing both people from both sides of the table. Mm-hmm. So what we owe Black people is the education, the information, the full view, and then we want to trust and empower them to go make the best decisions. The other place I think we see our responsibility is very much in just making sure that people are registered to vote and show up to vote. So I think you'll see that type of energy from us, but difficult for me. I always believe the brand is not your brand. It's who the brand, like the rules of the brand govern the brand.
Yeah.
And this is one of those ones where we've been operating by a very by the same rule for the last 4 years. And I think it's difficult to try to change that brand tenet. We clearly get what's at stake. But again, we want to trust and believe that if we give our people the right information, they'll make the best decision for.
I'm a fan, bro. All right, I'm a Revolt fan. If I'm gonna lie, because I think I asked some pretty tough questions, and you gave some amazing answers that helped me gave me some clarity from a media perspective. I like this. I want to work for y'all.
I want to work with you, brother.
Yes,
So
no, I want to work for y'all. I want to be a part of the equity split.
Yeah.
I want to be. Let me be an employee.
Yeah.
No, but thank you so much. Hey, listen, y'all. Make sure y'all support this brother because he is doing some amazing things in the world. And I just like your philosophy on life. And you are a really good person.
Thank you, brother.
You're a really good human being. So thank y'all so much. Make sure y'all follow. Where can they follow you?
All the stuff for me is Detavio, Detavio. It's the same like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, doesn't matter. It's all the same. And then also, more important to me is Revolt. And so it's Revolt TV. In most places, it's Revolt TV. Some places you might find it just Revolt. But we're on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. Wherever you are, that's where the brand is.
There it is. Make sure y'all support. Make sure, if you're not subscribed to Social Proof Podcast, make sure you subscribe. Show some love. I need y'all to start tagging Revolt. Like, yo, sign hot seat, okay? Because that needs to happen, y'all. We appreciate the love. We out here. Peace. You just watched this whole episode. If you like this episode, watch this one right here. Click right here. You're going to like this one if you like the one you just watched. Check it out.